Jeremy Hansen has joined a very short list of Canadians who've traveled to space, following in the footsteps of several iconic trailblazers, including Chris Hadfield. Let's take a look at the scene nearly 13 years ago when Hadfield and his crewmates safely returned to Earth after 5 months in space. Hadfield became the first Canadian to walk in space then. He's done a lot since, including writing his latest novel, Final Orbit. Well, Linda and I are thrilled to have Chris Hadfield joining us now. Chris, good morning to you.
And it is a good morning. I'm glad to be joining you. Thanks.
It is a fantastic morning. We've got, 12-ish hours until actual touchdown. But can we talk about that reentry process? You've done it. The numbers seem crazy to me. 40,000 kilometers an hour, slowing down, all the G's, everything. What's it like?
It is crazy. And what's even crazier for Jeremy and his crew is they're not just coming from orbit around the world, but they're falling all the way from the moon. So they've been falling about 400,000 kilometers, picking up speed the whole way. So as you say, they're going to plummet into the air, counting on the air to slow them down at about 40,000 kilometers an hour. They'll have twice as much energy as the 3 times that I re-entered the atmosphere. Twice as much energy to bleed off because of the extra speed. And they'll be counting on the thickness of the air, like throwing a big heavy stone into foamy water. They'll be counting on the thickness of the air to slow it down before it comes down and they open the parachutes and splash down off the coast of California. So it will be a wild ride when they come back through the air.
Chris, you know, the country, the world is going to be holding their breath for that moment. We know during Artemis I there were some problems with the heat shield. So I'm wondering what you're specifically going to be watching for at each stage of that process.
There's like 4 big stages. The first one is they need to get exactly the right angle to enter the atmosphere. A little bit too shallow and they'll bounce off the atmosphere. And then it's kind of a big out of control thing. If they get a little too steep, then they just dig in too hard and it'll burn up the vehicle. So they've got to come in at just the right angle. And then they need to jettison the service thing, that the service module, European built, that has been steering them to this point, safely jettison that thing so that it reveals their pristine heat shield, the belly of their capsule. It's been protected the whole time by the service module. So 1, steering. Number 2, get rid of that thing. And then 3, and this is the real critical moment, and that is survive all of that heat and energy as the air starts to slow them down. It's so hot that it messes up things at the molecular level. So you end up with this big plasma field around the vehicle, like around the sun. And the crew will see flames and orange and yellow and red licking around the windows of their ship as that air gets tortured, slowing it down. And then once it gets slow enough, the last step is some drogue chutes, and then the 3 big parachutes to slow them down to a speed where they can comfortably hit the Pacific and survive the whole thing. It's going to be a crazy, I don't know what that is all told, 20 minutes or something in their lives.
That sounds absolutely wild, the description. I mean, particularly when you're talking about flames out the window, the communication blackout, everything that happens there. This is, there are a number of veterans on this mission for Jeremy Hansen, first time up. Some of them may never fly again, may never go back to space. This has got to be a lifetime, a career high point. How do you kind of in the years to come rationalize that in your mind?
I think externally, it looks like maybe these 4 people had nothing, whoa, to the moon, and then back. And wow, how am I going to integrate that into my life? But Jeremy, for example, decided to be an astronaut when he was in grade school. And then he has been working on it for his whole life. So it has been already a huge reality and an enormous part of his life for decades. So he's 50. So like for 40 years, he's been involved in this. And when he returns from this flight, it's not like it's all over. There's a tremendous amount of learning from it. And then how is he going to share the experience and make sure other people have a chance to to maybe make different decisions with their lives based on how he conducted his. So I think for the rest of the world, this looks like a big, weird blip in his life. But for the crew, this is an amazing part of a full lifetime continuum of service, and they'll be able to integrate it okay. But what an amazing period this has been, even in lives like that.
Quite something.
You know, it's going to be difficult for them to get back to Earth, quite literally, I'm sure, after this. But it is part of a much larger plan here. And we talk about Artemis 3 and 4 and what they hope to learn from this going into those missions. Does this put them on schedule for those missions?
It does. There was a lot of question about this particular version of a rocket and a spaceship. Because they're brand new, and you never know when you're building something brand new. You think you get it right, but you have to test it. This has been an incredibly, touch wood, incredibly successful test flight to this point. The rocket worked great, got them where they wanted to go. The vehicle worked great. The motors continued to work. They had some toilet problems and a bunch of little stuff, but that's all fixable. It safely and very accurately got them to the moon. The return has been precisely on the money. And so we needed all those things to happen in order to feel confident for the next flight. And the next one isn't even going to go to the moon. It's just get into orbit around the world and test docking and undocking and the lunar lander and make sure all those things work when we're close enough to home. And then the mission after that, assuming everything goes okay, will actually land somewhere near the south pole of the moon. And that's, who knows, 3 years from now, 2 years from now, somewhere in there. But this is what's happening right now in human history. We're transitioning from exploration done by the Apollo crews to settlement done by the Artemis crews. And Jeremy and his crew are the front runners that have allowed this all to happen.
I guess when you contextualize it with all those other things, your one working toilet not working maybe isn't such a big deal, although to many people it sounds, yeah, you shrug it off. I hear that. Look, Chris, it's so great to have you here as a veteran of the Canadian space program. But look, there's only ever been 10 Canadians in space. Jeremy Hansen is the 10th. What does this moment mean in our country's ambitions, plans, our own experiments?
Well, I think it's important to put it into context. There's a lot of serious personal or countrywide problems in the world right now. We have decided for various reasons to go to war with each other at various places around the planet. The worst of human behavior. It's not new. It's very common in our historical activities, but it's so regrettable and so non-productive, and yet it happens. And when that sort of thing goes on, we truly need good examples of accomplishing things right when we work together. And that's what this mission really also symbolizes. In amongst a time of strife and uncertainty, it is wonderful to have multiple countries. It's a European service module and a Canadian on board and Americans and people working together to try and better understand the universe around us. And no one has ever left Earth orbit except Americans before. No Soviet, no Russian, no Chinese astronaut, nobody. So I think it's also a terrific rallying point of awareness for Canadians that the first non-American to ever leave orbit and go to the moon was not all those other countries. It was Canada. And that was because we have a great education system, a great culture. We are a trusted partner. We have great technology. And we've been working closely with other countries for the entire space program. And as politics come and go, I think it's really nice to have a clear overriding indicator like this one that everybody can take great pride in.
Well, Chris Hadfield, you're a very recognizable guy and a very busy guy, so we really appreciate your time on what is a very busy day in the space program. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
All right, and go Artemis, go Jeremy Hansen.
Absolutely.